Okay, so welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I am talking about Matthew Williams' debut collection at Givenchy as the creative director. But before I continue, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Fashion Roadman. And if you want to support the channel, I have these amazing tote bags that you can buy on my website. The link to that will be in the description below. So, if you're unaware about who Matthew Williams is a fashion designer. Now, he came up in the scene, so to speak, being a costume designer for Lady Gaga. He eventually worked on some projects with Kanye West, and then he was kind of in the inner circle of like the streetwear heads. And then he made this collective with Heron Preston and Virgil Abloh called Bin Trill, where they basically used to print on blanks, and it was a really big thing in the streetwear scene. So fast forwarding, all of those people are now successful. Heron Preston has his brand, Heron Preston. Virgil Abloh has Off-White, and of course he's the creative director of menswear, so artistic director of menswear for Louis Vuitton. And now finally, Matthew Williams has been hired as the creative director of Givenchy. But before we even go to Matthew Williams becoming the creative director of Givenchy, he founded his brand called Alexander. And Alexander has been quite successful. It's very well known for, you know, the roller coaster belts and the tailoring, the streetwear kind of edge tailoring that he's done, as well as some sustainability initiatives that he has pushed forward with the brand, which I'll talk about later. It seemed very likely when people heard that Givenchy was going to have a new creative director that Matthew Williams would be hired. Mainly because LVMH, which is the conglomerate that owns the brand Givenchy, is known to kind of groom people. So Kim Jones, for example, he's already been at Dior and Louis Vuitton, so it wasn't a surprise when he was hired to be the creative director of Fendi. The same way, Matthew Williams, LVMH kind of brought him in to work under Kim Jones and design some of the hardware alongside Yoon Ahn. So it just made sense that he was going to be hired as the creative director for Givenchy. So when Matthew Williams was appointed, the first big talking point, like I said earlier, was sustainability, because the direction that the fashion industry is going now, and more customers and consumers are becoming educated. A lot of people really want to know about the sustainability of the brands they're buying into, and they want to know that it's genuine and it's not greenwashing. And I feel like hiring Matthew Williams in this sort of climate is perfect, because if there's one thing that Matthew Williams is sustainably conscious. I mean, I've written down some of his initiatives, like he uses recycled textiles for Alexander. He has dyeing techniques where he uses less water. He's also started to introduce blockchain technology, and how this works is basically each garment, well, not yet, but what his plan is eventually for Alexander, is that every single garment will have a scannable QR code, and when you scan it, you can see where the garment originated from, like where it was produced, how it was made, and that kind of brings some transparency in terms of the sustainability. And one big hope is that he brings this sustainably conscious mindset to the brand of Givenchy. It's also very timely, considering all the luxury fashion brands are having this sudden transition into sustainability. We just need to look at brands like what Prada is doing with their Re-Nylon initiative, or Burberry, which seems a bit more like greenwashing, where essentially they are having eco-friendly collections, and many other brands that are really trying to be more sustainable. So to go into the collection in my opinion was all over the place. There's many aspects of the collection that I liked and many aspects that I didn't like. Of course, this is his first collection as the creative director of Givenchy, so the debut collection doesn't mean everything. He's still going to build on this collection, and also it's not like he had loads of time to make this collection, and it was under very unique circumstances with the whole quarantine and obviously COVID-19 and all of that. So the first thing to mention is Matthew Williams clearly looked at the Givenchy archives in this collection. We saw an ode to Alexander Mcqueen And if you look at Alexander Mcqueen's 1997 couture collection for Givenchy, there were these sheep horns that were featured all across the collection that were very, very crazy. And of course, Matthew Williams did actually say, and I have a quote here, after he said that people like Alexander Mcqueen and John Galliano really inspired him when he was first getting into fashion. So him going to Givenchy, he really wanted to kind of show his appreciation for their art. And he also did reference Givenchy slightly, the house codes of Givenchy slightly, with some dresses. And I know one dress had a slit at the back, which was an ode to old Givenchy work. I was reading a lot of like articles, just not even for this video, but just in general when the collection first released. And I felt like a lot of journalists were kind of forcing the issue, like saying, this collection was so inspired by Givenchy. And it's like, at least me, studying at Central St. Martin's now, my lecturers, if I was to say something like that, I would get destroyed, because they'll be like, okay, but where's the evidence? Like, show us the evidence. And in my opinion, I didn't really see too much referencing to old Givenchy house codes. What I did see was a lot of the Mcqueen referencing. I saw a lot of Helmut Lang references, which I know Matthew Williams is a big fan of Helmut Lang as well. And I did see a lot of like his own takes on certain things. So that's personally what I saw. Now, to quote Matthew Williams directly, he said, Ricardo Tisci, John Galliano and Lee McQueen were such informative figures in my education of fashion. I looked up to everything they did so much. So it's inherently in the way I think. And this is of course him talking about his reference to designers like Galliano, Tisci and McQueen all at the house of Givenchy, which I did see. Tisci more in the more street kind of edge and the sharp tailoring that I did see in the collection. And that is also kind of what Matthew Williams does himself. So that wasn't really like him just taking someone else's work and calling it a reference. With McQueen, we did see these references in form of hats with the horns, with the sheep horns. We saw heels that had the sheep horns. I thought that was a lot more interesting than the hats. I thought the hats was a bit too much of an obvious reference. I think the heels was definitely a lot better in my opinion. I definitely preferred that aspect of things. Now, the big talking point from this collection is something that I think is called the trip toe heel. And this was these heels that split your toes into 3 sections. They're kind of like tabbies, but like triple tabbies sort of, and they're open toe rather than like closed. And this was crazy. There were so many memes online, like Scooby-Doo memes, and people saying it looks like all sorts of things. I just find it very, very strange, but I'm not mad at it, because ultimately that's why Matthew Williams is here. Matthew Williams is supposed to create a buzz. He's supposed to bring Givenchy into the forefront. He's supposed to add Givenchy to the conversation in fashion. I think with pieces like this, that's exactly what he's doing. It does look a bit gimmicky. I can't see many people wearing it apart from Instagrammers who are going to wear it because they know they're going to get so many likes and it's going to be like it's going to be a viral moment. But apart from that, it's not the most practical thing, which fashion doesn't have to be practical in my opinion, but judging it from a Matthew Williams standpoint, and to quote him actually, because to make this point, he made a quote that really is the reason why I'm judging him this way. So he said, "I'm not a person who designs in themes. It's very much product focused. A lot of it is what I would wear personally." So Matthew Williams has made this claim that he isn't, and I don't really like that, to be fair. I thought this collection was a bit all over the place. I didn't see a cohesive theme running through this collection. And him saying that he's a master of product, which I do agree, he's very good at product. And he said he's not the type of person who designs in themes. So I would expect that sort of person with that sort of mindset to design more practical things. I just don't see how that bunched up toe heel is the most practical thing, considering what he said. But that's my personal opinion. So I just thought it was a bit strange more than anything else. However, what I will give Matthew Williams a lot of credit for is I think he's an amazing footwear designer. And I mean, I'm not rich, but if I was, there's so many pieces of like Elite's footwear that I would have bought. I think he's really, really good at designing silhouettes for footwear. And I really love the chunky sort of loafers that were in this collection, that were in many different colorways. I thought those were amazing. I really liked them. You can dress them up, dress them down. I liked how they looked aesthetically. And I feel like this is why he's a good fit for Givenchy, because I cannot think of the last time I thought of any remotely engaging pair of footwear from Givenchy that I was like, for menswear at least. I don't really follow women's wear that closely, apart from history, because women's wear history is really important. So in the menswear side of things, I can't remember any Givenchy pair of footwear that I've gone crazy over or has even been buzzing in fashion circles. And if you think of every luxury brand, they all have that piece of footwear that helps them make a lot of money. If you think of Mcqueen and the exaggerated sole sneakers, or Gucci and so many sneakers, from the embroidery sneakers, you know, the white sneakers, to the Rhythons, I think they're called, to Gucci has so many. Or if we think of Balenciaga with the Triple S or the track sneakers, or the new sneakers that Demna's working on, whether it's the ones that look like football AstroTurf boots or the Tyrexes or all those designs. Every single luxury brand now is really honing in on accessories and footwear, and I think this is where Matthew Williams at Givenchy will definitely shine. Continuing on the footwear, there's also these sandals that he calls the marshmallow slides, kind of like these really chunky, soft, foamy slides. And I think fashion is transitioning to more and warming up to more chunky silhouettes and thicker soles. And I really like, once again, how versatile these sandals are, because once again, he said he's a product, he designs for practicality. So I do like that you can style these up and style these down, just like the loafers. So I thought that was a good touch. My personal favorite pieces in this collection were these denim pieces that had this sort of interesting fabric, and it looked like they had an interesting texture. I really like to feel the garments, and it's a shame we didn't get too many like videos of models moving in these clothes, because I really wanted to see how they move. And when you see video, you can kind of see the textures better. And he did talk about this. He said that he calls this texture triple baked denim, and how he achieves this effect is by mixing paint and resin in the garments and in the fabric, which I thought was pretty cool. And it looks amazing in my opinion. I like this very unique texture to the pieces, and I know he does play a lot with textures at Elite, so this was very, very nice to see him bring this aspect to Givenchy. I definitely loved, he had these in a lot of the trousers and then a lot of the jackets. If I was rich and I had shorter legs, I would buy every colorway of those trousers personally. Now, of course, the biggest talking point of this collection really actually was the accessories. Now, the reason for this is Claire White-Keller, who was the creative director before Matthew Williams, is an amazing designer. However, and I thought her couture was absolutely amazing. However, on the commercial front, it just did not work. And sometimes, no matter how good of a designer you are, sometimes you're just not a good fit at a certain brand. And I think that was definitely the case with Claire. So I think with Claire's time, and I think with Givenchy in general, if I think off the top of my head what I think of as the Givenchy look, just thinking of old Givenchy work. To me, Givenchy is tailoring, it's elegance, it's about shapes, it's about lines, but at the same time, it's a mixture of historical garment and contemporary garment and the fusion of the two. And I think with Claire, it was too much of the latter, which is just so much heritage and tailoring and amazing tailoring, but it was a bit too old for the commercial aspect of things and for it to relate to the demographic that buys clothes these days. And I think Matthew Williams kind of goes a bit too far on the contemporary side, but I feel like Matthew Williams has more potential to fuse the heritage with the contemporary clothing. So I think that's where Matthew Williams is a better fit. And in terms of accessories, another reason why Matthew Williams was such a talking point with this is because that is what he's known for at Leaks. Footwear, obviously the roller coaster belts, that's why he went to Dior. He was designing hardware with Yun-On, that's his bread and butter. So everyone was really, really wondering, okay, what bags are we going to see? What, I don't know, accessories are we going to see? What belts and stuff like that? And we did get to see many interesting things, and we saw so many bags. We saw like sling bags, handbags, tote bags, and different fabrics, like the crocodile kind of leather and all different fabrics, and I thought it was quite interesting. And of course, a Givenchy bag that has been iconic for a while is called the Antigona bag. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, so sorry if I butchered it. But that bag, Matthew Williams reinterpreted it with different colors. Like there was one in this sort of like gold color, there was one in black. And then he also made this bag like bigger in general, almost to the point of it looking like a massive tote bag. And then it featured these big Givenchy padlocks on it. And we also got to see these Givenchy padlocks across many other pieces in this collection. And it was quite interesting because he had a very interesting reference point to the padlocks. So for him, he said that the padlocks were inspired by the love padlocks that you typically see on Parisian bridges. And it was kind of him just referencing the fact that he's moving to a Parisian brand, because of course the love padlocks is more of a thing that tourists do when they go to Paris rather than Parisians themselves. So I thought that was quite an interesting take and a very, very interesting reference. Now, why this also interests me is Matthew Williams is known for like that roller coaster buckle. So instead of doing the obvious, which is just making another roller coaster belt for Givenchy, which everyone would have been so pissed off by, like, come on Matthew, we need more ideas. He's sort of turning this love padlock idea into sort of the Givenchy buckle, so to speak, and I kind of like that. I think soon we might start, if this idea catches on, I won't be surprised if we start seeing Givenchy buckles as like the buckle for a belt, or like Givenchy padlocks for the buckle of a belt, sorry. That would not surprise me at all. Now, of course, because Matthew Williams said himself he doesn't like to design in themes, he designs in product. So when you look at his collections, you have to look at a lot of things on the surface and really break down the product, because I think what is dangerous with what Matthew Williams said is that a lot of designers, so take Rei Kawakubo for example, very, very cerebral designer. Now Rei Kawakubo has said herself that sometimes she will use like a cheaper fabric if that allows her to achieve a certain aesthetic or a certain look from an aesthetic standpoint. And because we know Rei Kawakubo is such a cerebral designer, if she does that, it's not far-fetched. If something doesn't fit right, she's so cerebral, we can be like, okay, you know, it's probably deliberate. With Matthew Williams, you can't really afford him that sort of, you know, excuse, because he says himself, I care about the product. So you have to look at how everything fits, which some of the things just didn't look like they fit right for the first thing. There was a look where this model was wearing like shorts, looked like sort of biker shorts and stuff. That look looks so out of place for Givenchy. I don't even know what it was doing in this collection, to be very honest with you. I don't really know what the function of that look was. And a part of me feels like there's more to that look, because there's no way it could possibly be only that. So I feel like maybe if we got a video, or maybe in the future when I get to see these pieces up close, then I'll be proven wrong and actually see that there is more to this look. But just looking at it from face value, it did not look great. Also, a lot of the styling, I wasn't a fan of. I just thought there were one too many chains on like everything. And obviously maybe that might have been a deliberate thing to do, but I just thought there were so many chains to the point of things looking almost like tacky. And someone said that, I don't know this for sure, but someone said Lotte Volkova styled the looks, which is interesting because I wouldn't really say, Lotte is an amazing stylist in my opinion. Like, she was styling stuff for Demna, like at Vetements especially, which is where I really loved her styling, and I think I just love her styling. So I feel like that's more Matthew Williams' direction than herself, if it was her that styled it. But in general, I just wasn't too much of a fan of the styling, but there were some looks that I definitely loved, like that tailored look with the sandals. I thought that was really chic. There were many different elements, like there were these shoes where the kind of metal and stuff did work. There were kind of these metal loops all around the shoes. I thought that was kind of an interesting take on footwear in general, and like I said, Matthew Williams is really good when it comes to footwear. I just think personally, this idea of him saying I don't design in themes, I don't think that will work when it comes to couture. At the end of the day though, I think couture is not really about product, it's not really about selling, it's really about proving yourself as a creative mind. Couture is not what is going to keep a brand staying afloat, it's the ready to wear and the accessories and the perfume and stuff like that. So at the end of the day, LVMH might not care too much about that, but me personally, I think Matthew Williams is a very talented designer. I love a lot of his work at Alix, for example, especially the accessories, and I feel like I want Matthew Williams to do well. It's because people like to paint him as this streetwear designer. I think he's more than that. We've seen really good collabs with him with Nike, or he's really good at tech wear and technical fabrics, or his work with Moncler Genius. And I think he's just an amazing designer. I just feel like he needs to really find his creative mojo a bit more, and I feel like he needs to kind of just tap into his creative energy, especially when it comes to couture. You can't really be doing this, I only design products, because that's not really what couture is about. So in a mindset thing, I'm not sure how that's going to do well in terms of him going to Givenchy and really changing how people view him as a designer. But in general, all in all, I did like the collection. There's many aspects I did like and didn't like, which is like anyone else. You can't possibly like every single thing about a collection. And as someone that wants to be a journalist, and I'm very much learning this now studying at Central St. Martin's, I have to be very critical and think for myself. So I don't have to say what I read in articles, or I don't have to, you know, just because I like a designer like Matthew Williams, I do like him, doesn't mean I can't be critical about a designer. But on that note, let me know what your thoughts are about this collection. Did you like it? Did you not? What certain aspects and pieces did you personally like? Which ones did you not? And on that note, like this video if you liked it, subscribe to my channel if you are new. Once again, if you're interested in supporting the channel, you can buy my tote bags. The link to that is in the description below. Definitely click that link, check out my tote bags on my website, and I should be back with another video very, very soon.